I love using gold textures in my surface pattern designs and illustrations. The ones that I use are made using various different programs on my desktop computer, so I thought I'd see if I could make a seamless gold texture for free just using Procreate on my iPad. Here's how I made it. So first of all, we're going to go and find a gold texture from Unsplash.com. It's a great place to find images you can use for free without any copyright issues. There's loads to choose from on here, so I definitely suggest experimenting and seeing which you like best. I'm going to choose, to start with, let's use this gold glitter one here. I'm going to tap to download and save it to my downloads folder, and I'll put the links for all of these files in the description. So we're going to pick two textures for this tutorial. We're going to have this gold glitter one as the easy option, and then we'll choose this one here as a slightly more complicated one that's going to involve a bit more putting back together and require a bit more processing. So again, I'm going to tap to download that to my downloads folder, and as I said, I'll put the links and shout outs for both of these in the video description. So let's hop back over to Procreate and let's get rid of this layer here. So I'm just using a 12 by 12 inch canvas here because that's the size I like to work in for designing patterns. I've got a pattern here ready to apply the gold texture to. We're going to apply it to this white line work, but I'm going to hide that for now. So you want to insert your downloaded file from your downloads folder. Let's start with this gold glitter texture one. And then with snapping turned on, and you want both of these sliders turned up, we're going to use a freeform transform, and we're just going to drag it to the top and bottom so that it meets the edges of the canvas. And you should see that you've got 3600 by 3600 or your document size there. So this is our texture, but it's not seamless yet. Let's check how these edges are matching up with each other. We're going to duplicate this layer and drag it all the way over here, halfway, and snap it into place. And then this bottom one we will select and drag it over to the right. And then you want to just zoom in and make sure that you don't have any gap to showing down the middle there. If you've got a background colour that's kind of similar colours to your texture, then choose something which you'd be able to see as a contrast through if there was a gap there. So once you can see that those two do match up, I mean they're not seamless but there's no gap there, you can then pinch those two layers together. Okay, so you can see this matches up pretty well tone-wise because it's a really fine texture and there's not much of a difference between the two sides, so our blending job is going to be easy here. The seam is already hidden pretty well. But let's have a look at how to smooth it out. We're going to go up to this little magic wand, the adjustments, and we're going to choose clone down there at the bottom. And then up here, we're going to tap on the brush, and I'm going to use this medium hard blend brush. And I've got my size at about 2%. And this little circle here, you can move this around, and this here is where I can see where my seam is. I'm just going to move it off to the side of the seam, and then following up and down it here, just going to do a few little scribbles on here just to blend this out where we've got that seam showing there. And now we've done that, you can see there's no harsh line showing there now. Let's zoom up and just double check. There's a little bit there we could go over again. Maybe just move that up. Go over that bit as well. So there you go, that's how you blend out the differences and the harsh line on that vertical seam. So now that that seam is sorted, let's have a look at the horizontal one. So we're going to repeat the offset function again. We're going to duplicate, tap transform, and then we're going to drag this one down halfway and snap it to the bottom. And on this one, we're going to drag it up and snap it halfway up to the top until we see those orange lines crossing over there. That's what you want to see. There you go. And just zoom in to make sure there's no gap there, and then you can pinch those two together. And for this line, we're just going to do the same as before. Grab the clone tool, we'll move it to just below that line, and then just go over the seam, scribbling out and blending out any differences there. There we go, that's blended that out nicely. And then once you've done that, it's a good idea to repeat that duplicate and offset once more, because these bits here on the edges, we might not have quite got properly. We didn't go all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to do that duplicate and offset one more time. Okay, that's all pretty well blended now. So we now have this nice seamless tile. We can go up to our layers. Let's just hide this for now, and let's show our pattern again. So now let's apply this to our line work. We're going to drag this glitter layer down, and I'm going to put it on top of my stems layer. Then I'm going to tap on it again, and I'm going to tap on clipping mask. And that's now clipped it all to the line work below. At this point, you might want to go and adjust the hue, saturation or brightness. So I'm going to go to the adjustments again, and I'm going to tap on hue, saturation and brightness. And I think for this one, I'm going to bring the saturation up, probably as high as that will go. I might come back and bring that higher a second time. And then maybe just bring brightness up a touch. And then I'm going to tap on that and tap on it again one more time, and then bring the saturation up even more. Don't want it too overblown though. Let's have a zoom in. I think that might be a little too much, so let's bring that back down. It's looking okay. Tap that up there when you're done, and there we go. We could also duplicate this layer, and we could apply it to the dots as well if we wanted to. Tap on it and tap on clipping mask. And that is now a fully seamless tile ready to export as a seamless pattern. So let's have a look at the other one now. Let's hide these two gold layers now. Select them both, group them, and just hide that group and drag it up there. And now let's hide the pattern again, and this time let's bring in the other gold texture to work on. So we're going to add a file, go to our downloads folder, and let's bring in this one this time. I need to move it out of this group so I can see it. So with this one, we're going to do the same. We're going to tap on transform, and we're going to do freeform transform. We've got snapping turned on from last time, and we're going to drag this all the way up and all the way to the bottom of the canvas, making sure that the width and height corresponds to our document size. So we're going to do the same as before. This pattern is a bit of a larger scale, so we might need to do a bit more blending work on this one. But we'll start by duplicating, transforming and snapping it over there to the left, and then the bottom layer will snap over here to the right. Zoom in to make sure we don't have a gap, that looks okay, and then we can pinch those two layers together. And then we're going to pull up our clone tool over here. And for this one, you might want to use a different brush. Let's see how the one we've got works first. Yeah, I think that's probably a bit too small. Let's just undo that and make it a little bit bigger. So we've got a bit more softness on the edges. And yeah, so as before, we're just going to draw over that line to blend out the difference. So we've got no harsh line there. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. And those are the bits that you'll work on when you bring it back into the middle a second time. So that's now nice and seamless down the middle. We're going to duplicate and drag this one down so we can work on this horizontal seam, and drag this one up until it snaps into place. Have a quick zoom in to make sure there's no gap. That's looking okay, so we can now pinch those two together. So we're going to go up to clone again, and then just as we did before, blending out that line where you can see where the two tiles join. If you see any bits like here and here where that's obviously duplicated, you could just clone another bit onto those. And then we just need to bring these edges back into the middle and then smooth out any gaps in those. Those middle parts are looking okay. Let's just check these other ones. That's looking okay too. Okay, so there we go. That's now nice and seamless. Let's have a go at applying this. We will show our pattern layers and we're going to drag this down above the stems. Going to tap on that and we will turn on a clipping mask. Let's have a zoom in. Now you notice with this one, it kind of doesn't seem to work as well. There's obviously something different about the resolution between the texture and the leaves, and I think because this is a much larger scale texture, that's why it's just not quite working properly. So with this one, let's just hide the dots. What I would do if you've got a large scale texture like this and it's not really working with your design and there's a jarring difference, I would select this layer and then drag up from this bottom corner here into the middle, snap it to the top corner of the document, just like that. Then you can duplicate it and select and drag it over here and snap it to the right. And you can pinch those two together, duplicate, and drag those down to the bottom. And because this is a seamless tile, we know that it's going to repeat perfectly. So let's try this now. Let's tap on this layer and tap on the clipping mask and see how that's looking. I think it's looking better, but I think we could probably do with adjusting it one more time. So I'm going to unclip this layer now. And I'm going to repeat the same steps as before. We're going to tap transform and drag this bottom corner up into the middle of the document, and then duplicate and drag it over to the right, pinch those together, duplicate and drag it down. And so you can see the repeat on this is starting to show a lot now. But because we're clipping this texture to the line work underneath, it's okay because we're not going to be having the whole tile on view, just parts of it. So I'm much more happy with the scale of that, and I think that's working a lot better. It's worth playing around with your scale on these textures, and if you do go too far, you can always undo and go back a step. So I think we're definitely going to need to adjust the colour on this, and I'm probably also going to adjust the levels a bit. So let's go up to adjustments, and I'm not going to pretend that I understand how this curves things works, but what I want to do is even out the difference between the dark and the light. So I'm just going to slide these around until that is kind of looking how I want it. There we go. I think that's what I want. And then we'll go to the hue, saturation and brightness, and I think we'll make this one a bit more rose gold. So let's take the hue over a bit more into the red, and we'll maybe bring up the brightness. Maybe that's fine as it was. There we go. And then we'll go to the colour balance and take this a bit more towards magenta. And there we go. Let's also duplicate this and apply it to our dots. Tap on that and apply a clipping mask. So that's how to make 2 easy gold textures just using Procreate on your iPad. These textures will work best when applied to things like line work or small details in a pattern or illustration. When you're only using them on thin line work like this, you can definitely get away with a few minor imperfections along the way, and they won't be noticeable within the whole of the design. But if you were using it on large areas, for example, if you wanted to apply it to these leaves, those tiny imperfections might become a bit more conspicuous. So always use your own eye to judge whether the resolution quality is appropriate for the design you're working on. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, then please consider subscribing, and if you want to learn how to make patterns just like this on your iPad, then you should head over to Skillshare, where I'm a top teacher and I have a class that teaches you how to make a floral pattern just like this. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you next time.